can see forever in all directions. If only you look, she said, you can see forever in all directions. You can see forever.
Through my work, I learned a lot about the environmental issues we face, one of which was air travel. So, when the time came for me to go home, I hit a problem: how to get there without flying.
Soon after meeting Luana, one of the first things she asked me was if I'd like to travel with her back to Australia. I immediately said yes. But she wanted to get there as sustainably as possible. There was only one option: the bicycle.
Yeah, and then are we going to grease the wheel bearings?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well then let's just
Get your grease gun in.
And squirt it in
and
that.
squirt it in.
Is the grease gun point that small?
Yeah, it's got a nice little point on it.
We think we're going to be stopping probably about once a week at bed and breakfast or a youth hostel. Or if we're doing okay with money, I'm sure we'll stop off at a hotel occasionally. But most of the time we're going to be camping, because you haven't got enough money to stay in a hotel each night. And some of the countries we're going through, I don't think we'll even have the opportunity to camp. From what we've heard from other cyclists, you get invited into people's homes every day, and the struggle of getting through the country is more because people are so friendly that you can't get away from each place, so everybody wants you to come and stay and everyone wants you to come and share a meal with them, and that's more of a problem than actually running out of places to stay. So we should do okay.
It's only now that it's really dawning on me what we're actually doing, and I'm starting to freak out a bit and question whether or not we really are up for it. You know, we're doing the next year and a half cycling, day in, day out. So doing the next year and a half together, just the two of us, day in, day out.
It's going to be really amazing for our relationship to go through this journey, to try and find out more about each other, more about what we mean to each other, more about what we are ourselves, and doing it together should be an incredibly strengthening, bonding experience.
I'm the first one on the boat! Can't quite believe it. After 2 years of planning this expedition and millions of times imagining what it would be like to actually get on the ferry and leave England, we're finally here. We've finally arrived in the Netherlands. I just can't believe it. It really feels like now it's happening and we are cycling to Australia.
So it's been really, really cold. It's making us long even more for the hot weather which we're going to find in countries to come, but this is still beautiful.
Cycled 7.5 hours into the strongest headwind I've ever experienced in the Netherlands along the wild North Sea coast. And suddenly we've arrived here at Schiphol Airport, and it's just dawned on us what we're getting ourselves in for. We could just jump on one of these luxury airplanes and be in sunny Sydney within 24 hours. But instead we're going to cope with conditions like this over the next 18 months to cycle overland all the way home.
As we've been cycling through France, we noticed as we cycled along increasing destruction of the woodland, and we suddenly started seeing trees that were blown over until we got to the point where there were whole woodlands which had just been completely destroyed. There was nothing left standing, and it was a horrific sight. It was like going through a graveyard. It's brought up huge emotions in both of us, because it's one of the reasons that we're cycling to Australia, because global warming is increasing as years go by. The world is getting warmer, and storm systems around the world are inevitably getting stronger as a result, and the result of the stronger storm systems is destruction like this. It's these beautiful trees which are ending up on their sides, and we have to do something now to stop it. It's crazy. It's amazing seeing what's going on and seeing people just accept it as something which is okay, because it isn't okay. This is our world getting destroyed in front of us, and it's about time we did something about it.
Well, this is the last of the passes through the Swiss Alps. And it's been a really massive learning for us, because we were quite nervous beforehand as to whether we'll have the strength to be able to get us and all of our gear over the snowy mountains. But what we found is that our legs are surprisingly up for it, but it's our mental fear that we found was the real deciding factor. So here goes. So the Swiss Alps have been brilliant because we've really knocked down that mental fear and pushed through. And yeah, you've just got to believe that you can do it and not be scared by the heights that you see above you and below you. Oh, we've made it to the top of the hill. And it's all downhill from here. Italy, here we come!
Well, we've come down here to Genoa because we'd had enough of the rain and the wind of Northern Europe, and we thought we'd come down to the beach and catch some sunshine for a couple of days. And this is the result once more. The rain seems to have followed us. It hasn't rained here for 100 days. And now it's raining. It's raining like we've never seen rain before. We've been in Genoa on the Mediterranean coast now for 2 days, and it's been like this for 2 days. Absolutely torrential rain.
But we thought this would be an excellent opportunity to show just what ridiculous gear we have to wear when it's raining like it is today, and we've got 100 kilometres to go. So we've got our usual waterproof coat, which is great, and I'm sure everyone's got one of those. We've got some amazing waterproof trousers with reflective bits on the back so the cars can see us. And we have these amazing waterproof boot covers which try their hardest to keep our feet dry as we're cycling along, but inevitably on days like this they get completely soaked by the time we finished.
Wow! Here we are in downtown Geneva, and although it's just started sprinkling with rain, hey, what a surprise, we're about to take part in a bit of a special day today. And as you can see, I've just stepped out into the middle of a 5-lane main road without even looking, because today is Italy's car-free day. Where are the cars?
My cars, okay, and all the cars in the garage, box garage, okay.
Why?
Because this is an ecologic day. Yes. Mm-hmm. It's, I think, a good day because it's possible to meet another persons and to live in the city without smog. Okay. Okay. English weather today, but.
Look, there's no cars. I don't even have to shout. There are children everywhere, families having a beautiful Sunday out together. Great way for the communities to feel re-empowered and reconnected again, and to have a day free of cars. Hopefully it's a sign of the future. After 2 months in Italy, we finally arrived at a sign that says Brindisi, which means we're going to be there within a couple of hours. And then our ferry is waiting for us, and it's going to take us over to Greece. Welcome to Greece! Athens has been continuously inhabited for over 7,000 years. You would have thought in that time they might have worked out a way of dealing with all the pollution, but they haven't. 4 million Greeks and half the country's cars fight for space here in Athens, making it one of the most polluted cities in the world.
We've left the big mountains of Greece behind us, and it's really, really exciting because over there is Turkey, leaving the European Union behind us and heading over to what looks like slightly flatter lands, which could be slightly easier cycling for us. But we can't wait to get to Turkey. This is sort of like where Asia begins, not far into Turkey. This is exciting territory for us. The journey's really happening.
Istanbul's a really special city. It's actually divided on 2 continents. Half of Istanbul is in Europe and half of Istanbul is in Asia behind us. So today is really significant because we're actually saying goodbye to Europe and saying hello to Asia, Bike to Oz style. Well, after 5,500 kilometres, I've just had my first puncture. And we've only got 35 more Ks to do before the end of the day, but we've got a really strong headwind. And so everything's blowing around, there's dust and grit everywhere and loads of big trucks on the road. And we've now got to take all my panniers off and turn the bike upside down and change tyres. But hey, I should be grateful because this is my first ever puncture and Kev's had 7 already. It's the first time I've ever taken a tyre off by myself. Whee! A flat one at that. Okay, I've managed to locate the hole. And you can tell if it's a hole because it makes bubbles when you put water on it. It's quite pretty really, isn't it? I'm gonna have great biceps after this. Hi, what are you doing?
Well, when we left England, everyone was going, you can't be vegetarian all the way to Australia, it's not possible. And until now, it's been completely okay, but now we've arrived in Afyon, which is right in the centre of Turkey. And we went out to eat last night, we tried about 15 different places, and there was not a single dish that we could eat. Every single one of them had meat. So today we've had to sneak out onto the hotel roof and cook up our own feast. This is quite amazing landscape we're coming into. I've never seen anything like it in my life. It's just totally incredible. And what's up at the moment?
Well, I can't talk very well. I've had a bit of a bug and it started off as diarrhea and pains in my stomach, and that spread after about 12 hours up to my throat. I really saw swollen glands, and then it sort of spread to my nose and I was a bit snotty, and now I can't really speak properly, and it's my voice.
What does this mean for the trip?
For the trip, that we're still in Journeyman, and it's a bit scary because we've still got 1,000 kilometres to cycle before we get to the Iranian border. And our visa for Iran starts in 2 weeks, and I can't start cycling until I'm 100% again. And as you can probably tell, I've got a couple more days of recovery before I'm back to my fit old self.
Some people might say that we're cheating a little bit by catching a train, but we're spending a year and a half travelling from England to Australia, and the original mission was to get there without using an aeroplane, because aeroplanes cause loads of global warming. And so for me, catching a train's a really lovely and a much greener way to travel than using an aeroplane anyway, and we have to get to the Iranian border before our visa starts, so for us there really is no other option, and life is full of compromise, I'm afraid. We're in the far northeast of Turkey, high in the mountains. Hello! Hello!
Never.
Climbing up to about 2,400 metres, more than 2 times higher than what we climbed in the Alps. And we spent the night just below the pass, and it was so freezing in the night. It's unbelievable to think that we've been cycling in 40 degrees heat, but last night we were absolutely shivering in our tent. We've got to get some porridge into us to give us energy to get over the hill.
Well, that behind me is Mount Ararat. I read about it in the Bible because it's the place where the Ark's meant to be buried, under the ice cap at the top. We're only a few kilometres now from the Iranian border. We're going to be there in probably the next half an hour, so this is the last bit of filming we're being allowed to do in Turkey. No cameras near the border at all, otherwise we're going to get arrested and the camera's going to get confiscated. So the next time you see us, we're going to be in Iran. Lo's going to be covered up. We're going to be in a different land, and we can't wait.
We made it safely across the border into Iran, and the highlight of our first day was being escorted to this hotel by a group of local racing cyclists. Not only do I feel ridiculous and I'm completely overheating, but the actual Iranian word chador translates into English as tent, and I'll tell you what, it feels like it. I hate this, I'm really fucking boiling in this fucking horrible outfit.
Well, I'm standing in the middle of Esfahan's famous Sayande River. Well, at least I'm standing where the river used to be. There hasn't been any rain in some parts of Iran for over 2 years, and the views from the tea house, under the bridge, aren't quite as green and pleasant as they used to be. With local fears about climate change and global warming, it's confirmed for us our decision to cycle and not fly to Australia. There's tons of military people here everywhere, and some sort of procession going on to say how great Iran is, because a lot of people say that, especially the military, and they've all got tattoos saying Iran is the best. So we've been having good discussions with them, but I think we're going to stop filming now. We're going to go downstairs and see what's happening.
It was the 20th anniversary of the Iran-Iraq War, and while we were watching the army procession, a policeman came specifically up to us and asked us when we were leaving the country. And all we did was take a photo of a painting on a wall. So we escaped on an overnight bus to Pakistan.
And this place is completely full of people. Wherever you look, there are games of cricket going on. You don't get it in England so much anymore. You get loads of people playing football, and everywhere else we've been in Europe and into Asia, you've just had people playing football, but everybody talks to us about cricket in Pakistan. Look at it, you just wouldn't believe how many people are here with a cricket ball.
As I was filming a certain guy hitting the cricket ball at the wicket, a little crowd of people gathered around to watch me and watch the camera. And I felt someone touch my bum, and I turned around and there was a 15-year-old boy with a bit of guilty look on his face, and for the first time in my life I actually hit someone. I was so overwhelmingly angry, and I guess it was a build-up of all the other unwanted attention I've had from Pakistani men, and so I punched him in the arm. It's basically just men everywhere, in trucks, in motorbikes, in cars and on bicycles on the roads with us. And every single one of them, when they pass by, have a very good long stare at me. And it's cool at the beginning of the day, you know, you just ignore it, look straight ahead, don't provoke it, and by the time you're really tired and you've done lots of cycling, you know, you've had maybe 300 people trying to talk to you, and a lot of the time it's with only sexual intent, and it does become quite draining after a while.
We're in a town called Multan, which is a dusty, dirty, smelly town right in the centre of Pakistan. It's probably the dustiest, dirtiest place I've ever been in my entire life, which is an interesting place to spend my birthday. We've gone through a vast internet desert as well as physical desert over the last few weeks, so the family was both in England and Australia will be really, really happy to know that we're safe and well, and that we've nearly made it as far as India, and that we're over halfway between London and Sydney now. It's amazing. It's not far to India. We're going to go across the border today to the Sikh holy city of Amritsar, and we're going to stop there for a few days, relax and see what India's got to offer.
Well, this is the glamorous side of the job. These poor little bikes haven't been properly washed since Switzerland, about 6 months ago. And that's a bit naughty on our behalf, but you know how it is. In Northern Europe, it was fine because it rained pretty much every day, so it kept most of the dirt off the bikes. But the last 3 or 4 months through Turkey, Iran and Pakistan, we haven't seen a single drop of rain. And so the grit that I'm cleaning off right now has been on our bikes since perhaps Greece or Turkey. And the amount of dirt that's coming off makes me think that we've been carrying about half a kilo of dirt, which is not good because our bikes and our luggage are heavy enough as it is. So very long overdue, this clean. And I'm sure the bikes will be very happy after their shower.
The traffic's getting heavier, the roads are getting bigger, the sky's going browner. It can only mean one thing. We're approaching Delhi, one of the most polluted cities in the world. Vehicles in this city produce over 1,000 tonnes of air pollutants every day. And over a third of the residents suffer from breathing difficulties. The government's tried to compensate for all this pollution by shutting down some of the worst factories. And the result's been 2 days of rioting this week, leaving 3 people dead. So who knows what we're going to face when we get there.
It's funny because I usually feel really fit and healthy cycling, but after only 5 days in the capital, I feel rough. My back's really sore, my joints are really achy, and like I said, I've had, really sore nose and sore throat and earache, and Kev and I are just hanging to get out of the city and back into some remotely clean air.
Well, this is the Taj Mahal, one of the world's greatest monuments to love. Good news is that this area is clean, the air is clean. This is so different to Delhi. The reason is that they've banned new industry within a 10,000 square kilometre area around this building. And they've actually banned cars from coming around here as well, and planted a new forest to try and soak up some of the pollution. So tourism can have some good effects because this place was falling down with all the pollution. It's not happening so much anymore. The bad news is they now charge 1,500 rupees to come in here. That's about 4 times our daily budget. So this is one of the few tourist places we're going to in India. Enjoy.
We never said that we would cycle every inch of the way between London and Sydney. There are hundreds of cyclists who've done it before us, and there are thousands who'll do it after us. We were never trying to break a record or cycle the longest distance ever cycled. It was all about just trying to get home to Australia using the most sustainable forms of transport we could. The bicycle, ferries, trains, ships. The mission was to try to do it all without using an aeroplane.
Well, we finally made it through immigration and customs, and we're here in Singapore. Now this might not look weird to you, but for us this is space age. It's clean, it's modern, it's rich, there's shopping centres everywhere. This is not India.
It's been a long time since we've seen this much money invested in the roads. It's nice for the bum. We've just arrived in Singapore by cargo ship from India, and we're now looking to use the same form of transport to get to Australia, and just wondering if you had any freight at all, any ships that take passengers going to any of the Australian ports.
We're trying to get the ship to Australia rather than go by plane, obviously because of the effects of global warming are 40 times higher in an aeroplane than they are in a ship. Apparently it used to be really easy 25 or 30 years ago to get on board a ship to take you from one country to the other. But nowadays it seems that if you don't want to fly, there aren't many options.
I can't believe it! Finally got a ship that's going to take us to Australia. I really was starting to think that we were going to have to fly, and I was getting really depressed because we've come all this way over a year by bike, ship, train, bus, overland, and all we wanted to do was get to Sydney without flying, and We've finally found a ship. P&O are going to take us in their cargo boat Taronga all the way from Singapore to Brisbane. We've arrived at the port of Singapore and we're both feeling incredibly nervous because this is the last time we're going to be standing on land before we arrive at Australia, which is our destination. This country that always seemed so far away, and now within a matter of days we're going to be standing on Australian soil, and it's all quite overwhelming. This might not be as good as the real thing, but I've got a lovely view out my window of the ocean. Could be worse.
The sea voyage gave us time to reflect, to gather our thoughts, to recover our strength, and to relax. Sure, an aeroplane would have got us there in a few hours, and sure, it would have been a bit smoother than being on board the ship, but it wouldn't have been any good for the planet. Climate change is showing its head all around the Earth now, and we didn't really want to add to that if we didn't have to.
Within a few days, we found ourselves approaching Brisbane Port, and my family. So amazing. It doesn't feel real. We've been thinking about this moment for so many months, and it's really strange when you're in that moment because it doesn't actually feel real. And I have to keep kind of slapping myself and picturing myself and saying, that's Australia, we're here, we've done it, we've made it. But it's got a really dreamlike quality to it. It's such an amazing surprise!
There's 2 weeks to go, just under 2 weeks to go until we get to Sydney, which is no time at all.
Our destinies be called to reach out and touch the land.
People sort of said to us, be careful of the drivers in Sydney and be careful you don't get killed on the roads or suffocated by fumes. But after, Rome, Delhi, Athens, Tehran, capital of Iran, Quetta and Lahore in Pakistan, you just don't know how clean the air is here. There she is! Sydney! We made it!
Riding a long way on a push bike, honey. When did Kevin notice you? Riding all the way from London to when I ran the world with Kevin Doyle. You looked so pretty as you were riding along. You looked so pretty that Kevin sang you this song.
Hey! Filming us again. Whoa! Camera's still rolling. Look at him go. Three cheers for Lauren Kev. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
Hello Anna, I'm Frank Thorne from the Evening Standard.
Hi.
I gather now...
Thank you for
That's okay, it's a lovely day. Welcome to Sydney.
Thank you.
I gather you're now planning to get married, so you obviously got on quite well on this phenomenal trip.
Well,
why didn't you do it by tandem on a bicycle made for two?
Well, it's really good if you have an argument to be able to cycle away from each other.
Oh, right. Did you have
Does the bike go away for a while?
Definitely. We give them a bit of love and a clean, but that's it. We're going to walk around Sydney for a bit.
What do you feel that you've achieved by doing this?
Saving vast quantities of carbon dioxide emissions, which has got to be good for the environment, and talking to a lot of people we've met en route about the effects of global warming, of climate change, and challenging people's preconceptions about the only way to get from A to B is very quickly in an aeroplane.
see forever. You can see forever, you can see forever. You can see